Hi guys. Looks like this week we're going to discuss the all things considered between Little and Callahan's arguments. So let's jump into it. I'm going to assume that most of you guys have all done the reading and that you understand each of their arguments. So if I kind of seem like I get a little bit ahead, just understand I feel like I may have a lot to say here. So I want to be able to talk freely and assume that everybody understands this last week's reading material and lecture and notes. Let's start with the basics here. So Little is basically saying that it is absolutely a woman's right to have an abortion at any time that she seems and deems fit, while Callahan is absolutely arguing the exact opposite. Callahan's arguments are that it goes against, what feminism stands for. She tries really hard to disguise it as feminist care ethics when in reality she wrote an essay in an analytical style format that injects her own opinions in the form of factual data, as if she was analyzing something, looking at it from the outside. But what she's really pushing is Christianity virtue ethics. She's pushing the basis of traditionalism, of monogamy and marriage, and the whole love and marriage cart. The problem is that generalizes the population and that puts everybody in the same box. So she says that when a man and a woman come together and form a union together, that puts the woman in a safer environment. She's going to then feel more compelled to be loving and caring and, feel comfortable with her own sexuality. And the truth of the matter is that most marriages in this country end in 50% divorce rate because of the fact that there's a lot of things that don't get hashed out whenever it comes to that traditionalistic sense, such as sexual compatibility. Could you imagine waiting your entire life to be intimate with somebody only to find out that you're not compatible? What would that do to y'all's sex life and y'all having intimacy, period, in your relationship? It's going to destroy it. And it's going to erode your marriage, or you're just going to be unhappy because, the ethics that you choose to go by tell you that you're supposed to stay put in this relationship, whether it be for the sake of the kids or for death do us part, etc., etc. I feel like Callahan really didn't present an argument. I felt like she more or less injected her own personal opinions and philosophy on it. And Little, on the other hand, has a lot of compelling points, such as the drastic changes that a woman's body goes through whenever they're pregnant. God, watching my wife with our second child, she had extreme preeclampsia. She gained a ridiculous amount of weight. She was bedridden. She was eventually hospital bedridden. Our daughter was born at 36 weeks because of the fact that my wife's blood pressure was so incredibly high. They were worried about blood vessels bursting in her brain, so they naturally performed a cesarean. So yeah, that's real legitimate risk that women face by carrying an undeveloped human to term. Not only that, but the changes that her body made. Even though you're preeclamptic and you gain a ridiculous amount of water weight, you don't lose it very quickly. You really have to put in serious work to try to get yourself back to the shape that you were in. Not only that, but then at that point, a woman's breasts are producing milk, so she's got to deal with that. There's the other point that comes down to Thompson's argument that Little continues on, which is the right of life. Just because something happened doesn't mean that it's automatically entitled to being carried to term, fully dependent on it. Same argument about the violinist being hooked up to somebody. But I want to phrase this in the same way that I did last week, which is what I feel like a lot of these articles are missing. Intent. If their intent was not to reproduce and that baby was not something that was wanted or welcomed, why in the world would anybody advocate for that child to then come into this world? I feel like a lot of people really want to push for abortion to be outlawed, but nobody really is thinking about the repercussions of all these children being brought into this world, not being raised properly, not being fed, not being cared for, not being loved. What's going to happen? What kind of society are we going to have then? So that's really, for me, all things considered, I believe that Callahan is wrong, and I believe that Little's on the right track here. Thank you guys for watching.